Alright. Scarlet Nexus. Let's do this shit. Scarlet Nexus is an action role-playing game developed by Bandai Namco, and it is a fucking doozy to play. Early warning, there will be spoilers about the story of Scarlet Nexus. I'll put a timestamp on the screen of when the story section of the video starts and ends, so you can skip that if you want. And I'm here now, to add some of that visual flair. You play as either Yuito Sumeragi, the male protagonist, or Kasane Rando, the female protagonist. You view the story from whomever you pick's perspective, but it doesn't really matter too much since they both meet up halfway and the story is a convoluted mess. They both play close to the same, except that Yuito is more focused on close combat with his katana and Kasane uses throwing knives for a more mid-ranged approach. Now because I'm a gamer boy, I'll pick the boy, so everything in the footage and notes about the story you see will be all from Yuito's perspective. So this video will be broken up to separate parts. Firstly, I go into the meat of the game, the combat. Following that will be the visual style, environments, music, secondary mechanics to the game. And the last section of the video will just be for the story. So as mentioned, let's start with everyone's favorite, combat. The most important part of the combat is the main character's ability to use psychokinesis. By holding down a trigger, you are able to throw objects into enemies and do damage to them. The ability gauge is finite and you have to recharge your gauge by doing sword combos intermittently with your psychokinesis attacks. This leads to a cycle of sword combos to psychokinesis attacks. And once you get proficient at this cycle, you can start mixing and matching your combos, Devil May Cry style. The good one, not the remake.
Put a spin on this.
The way the combat flows from psychokinesis to sword combos work really well. The stylistic animations and fantastic audio design for everything in the combat make for a really tight gameplay feel. To further complement the combat is a mechanic called the SAS, Struggle Arm System, where you connect to the mind of your teammate and it allows you to use their abilities. In this upcoming footage, you can see an example of the SAS.
We should use Hanabi's power.
Don't get burned! Nice fire! You got it!
For this, both your sword combos and psychokinesis abilities have fire properties and enemies will start taking damage over time. The more people you are teammates with, the more abilities you unlock, thus creating an interesting system of using different party members' abilities based on the situation.
Use my power?
The next two parts in this machine are called Focus Mode and Brain Field Mode. They just make the main character go into a powered up state, so there's honestly not much to explain here. You do more damage, move faster, all that stuff. My favorite is actually Brain Field Mode, where Yuito just goes crazy with power and he starts making no sense.
Yo, go! Take this guy out now!
And if you don't get off Brain Field Mode, you just game over. So that's fun.
No, come back!
Now on to the enemies of the game. Thankfully, they are built really simple. They have a health bar and a break bar. So the difference between the two bars are that if a monster gets to 0 health, he just dies. But if you manage to completely deplete the monster's break bar, it doesn't matter how much health the monster has left. You just execute the bastard.
Leave it to me.
And in boss fights, once you deplete their break bar, they will take a crap ton of damage, so it's always more worth it to go for breaks instead of depleting health normally. And come on, look at all these animations. You can't tell me these don't look cool.
Keep this up. Here we go.
The skill tree also increases combo count, psychokinesis gauge, character stats, and abilities. So you really feel a form of evolution the more you level up. So mishmash all of these together and you get one of the best experiences in combat mechanics I've ever had. Everything flows incredibly well and there isn't much to complain about in terms of combat. That's all for combat. Now, everything else. First up, the character visuals, environment, and style. Yeah, it's pretty good. All the characters have that iconic Bandai Namco anime style look, and a solid majority of the locations you visit look beautiful. They mostly follow a style that Bandai Namco coined brain punk futuristic. The biggest example of this would be Suo, the beginning area. If the holograms on the floor, walls, buildings, and sky don't shout brain punk futuristic, I don't know what will. Alright, now we all know why we are here. Spending 80 big ones and taking leave from work to play this game. Okay? And that's character customization! Sadly, this game doesn't have much of that. You can only change the party's clothes to a different color variant and have some add-ons like cat ears or something. I don't know, I don't really care for them. Now the creme de la creme. The music. Every goddamn song is a banger. Anymore they would be on an 18+ website. My favorite part of the music is when you're just wandering an area and the music lays you down with some good vibes. The instant you encounter an enemy, the hype dial gets punched up to a 12 and you get some of the sickest beats you have ever heard in your life. A fucking masterpiece this soundtrack is. Every track fits in incredibly well with the brain punk futuristic vibe. Whatever that means. And I love the music so much that I listen to them on my own time. The shower gets a bit more intense when the combat music plays though. And from that high, we go to a low, the cutscenes. The biggest complaint people have in this ballpark is how the cutscenes are delivered. 95% of the time, the cutscenes are showed with a wide-angle still image in the back, a character to the left and another on the right, and some motions to the lips for some of that razzle-dazzle. Funny enough, it's reminiscent to Metal Gear codec calls, and I think that's great.
Hey boss, I have a seizure.
I'm on the fence for this one. I like the way the cutscenes are done because it's sort of a style and it's very unique. I don't really think I've seen this elsewhere. There's also a story reason for the viewing perspective and it's sorta quaint. Then again, I can't really say I enjoy listening to copious amounts of dialogue while just looking at still images. Some of the cutscenes drag on for a really long time, some of them lasting up to 30 minutes. Around the 5-minute mark, you start zoning out and just start doing whatever. There are rare instances of the still images shifting to an animated cutscene where things are happening and it's crazy and wild and pretty nice to look at. The bad part is that it's really few and really far in between. I can think of many instances of where there could or should have been an animated scene. An example being the first appearance of the two Septentrians, Karen Travers and Fubuki Spring, where their entrance is fully animated but them showing off their power is not. It would serve a lot better to their characters if they gave proper animated scenes to add depth, as well as a visual guide to the power difference between a rookie soldier and a Septentrian. Most people dislike the way the cutscenes are done, which is totally understandable due to its lack of proper engagement and stiff communication. But it's also due to the style and uniqueness that people are drawn to it. Heck, I'm one of those guys who like it. And to each their own. Now let's take a swing back to the SAS. I won't go into depth about the SAS too much, so the quickest rundown I can do is this. Each party member has a bond level linked to their SAS ability. The higher the bond with the main character, the more perks their SAS connection gives. You increase bonds by having them in your active party, giving them presents, and talking to them over bond episodes. And now cue the still image cutscenes that last 15 minutes each. They drag on for a really long time, and they don't make much sense in the grand scheme of things. Mini spoiler alert, Kasane and her gang try to kill you.
Yurito, you must die.
But the very next scene, they give you a text asking if you want to go eat some gyoza or some shit. And this isn't the only instance where it doesn't make sense. It happens multiple times, what the fuck? I don't think that anyone playing this game would say it made any sense at all. Anyway, last and definitely the least, the side missions. All the side missions are bad and incredibly uninspired. Fetch quests and hunt quests over and over, and the only attempt to make them interesting is to just add some random modifier. Beat this guy with this power, beat this guy with another power, eat this guy with a fork and spoon. It's really not great. The game is pretty good, but with the still image cutscenes, weird writing, and horrible side missions, it really does drag it down a lot. That's all for the side stuff. And now, into the realm of the story. Here's the timestamp on the screen for those who don't want to get spoiled for the story. Alright, let's do this. The story is a crazy mess, and not in a good way. It relies on a player being able to pay attention to an insane amount of dialogue while also throwing in a shit ton of random talk. Sorta like a visual novel. As mentioned, the cutscenes are really long and boring to look at, so it definitely doesn't help itself. As the great Anton Chekhov once said, "Don't tell me the moon is shining, show me the glint of light on broken glass." That means show, don't tell. This game incessantly hammers you with so much dialogue from the actual story, Bond episodes and random bullshit that the player has to see through what is told to you from the actually important stuff and what isn't. And by the end of the game, you actually wonder if anything you read really mattered, or was it all just a spaghetti of details that flew way over your head. In defense of the writing, however, is the building of intrigue, which I think this game does pretty damn good. Around the 1 hour mark, you meet Arashi Spring and Gamma Garrison. You beat up some others and return to your hideout. Yuito takes a nap.
Nonsense, you stay as long as you need to.
And this shit happens.
Huh? When did I get to Sumeragi 2?
The fuck was that? That was cool as shit. This little thing that happens builds an immediate intrigue to the story. From the beginning up till this point, I go as far as to say the story was generic and pretty lackluster. But then this pops up and it's like, oh, what's this new hotness? It looks sick. Bada bing bada boom, player instantly hooked into whatever is going on with the story. There's some other interesting points in the story too, where it builds a sort of intrigue. Not as much as the previous, but still pretty decent. And the game makes an effort to build up a lot of questions from the beginning till the end, to the point where it actually makes the player thirst for more. Who was in the flashback? What was that glitch? What happened to Naomi? Why did Nagi kill Seto? And why do Singaporeans still need to serve national service? Oh wait, not that one. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. But I can't say that every answer back was a satisfactory one. I don't think I have high standards for stories, I'm more of a gameplay kind of guy. However, I can't help but feel disappointed when some massive plot point just falls flat on their face. With the whole shit show with the Togetsu of Faith and Kagero Dawn being a dick, some of the conclusions just aren't great. The Nagi arc was the best part of the story though. A lot of it feels like wasted potential. And speaking of wasted potential, this chick. There was absolutely no point of her showing up in Yuito's story. Why was she even shown for 2 minutes? Just remove it. Go have a bigger impact in Kasane's story, don't come here. Man, the story had promise. It hooked players really well and had a decent idea of where it was heading. But halfway through it shit the bed and just started going crazy with the direction and lost a lot of interesting points here and there. Alright, that's all the points I got. Super quick summary. This game has a really good combat system that works seamlessly with the game mechanics to player skill. The more you expand your brain map, better efficiency with SAS, and simply doing sword or psychokinesis combos more efficiently, the better the game feels to play. Everything looks fantastic and sounds even better. The Bond's link to SAS is interesting but is ruined by how the Bond episodes don't always make much sense in the story, Gills and all that. The side missions are incredibly lacking and the cutscenes are quite weird. Story is, it exists. Nothing to write home about, but not too bad. It's enough to keep an average person interested for the duration of the game, and I think that's good enough. If you really care for the story, play both Yuito's and Kasane's side. But I don't think it's worth it since you pretty much learn both stories in depth in a single playthrough, and the only major difference would be Bond episodes. I would have preferred a little after story for each of them after the end of the game for some individuality, but that's wishful thinking. Whew, that was a mouthful. No, it sounds like I'm complaining a lot, but I actually do love this game. So much so that I'm willing to make a shitty YouTube video about it. I gladly recommend this game to anyone who likes good combat and sick as fuck music. I just think there's things here and there holding this back from being a true masterpiece. Anyway, I'm done. Waiting for Tales of Arise now, so thanks for watching, and have a safe journey. The heck? You're still watching? I got no real shoutouts this time. Thanks for watching though, it really does mean a lot to me and I gladly appreciate every single one of you who comment or private message me your thoughts and criticisms. I gladly take in any of them if it means making my content more interesting and entertaining for you guys to watch. I also have a video about my experience and thoughts about Skull, the Hero Slayer, so if you're interested, go give that video a watch. So funny thing, my microphone hates my normal voice. I've tried multiple retakes and a crap ton of audio mixing to make it more bearable, but it's just not working. So I'm gonna try to talk extremely normally for offcuts like these, or at least until I learn how to talk properly. Oh wait, no, I do have a shout out for Ethan/Einstro. He recently came out with a Shadows of the Colossus video and I think that's a great watch. Please go and visit his channel and watch that video. I contributed a whole 1%. That man is incredibly talented and I do love his content a lot.
And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.